I welcome each one of you for this function, particularly in the capacity of the Vice Chancellor of the Pune University. I am really happy, as I have been told, students from more than 28 states are attending this Students' Parliament. In fact, I attach a great significance to this topic. And I must say the topic is more pertinent to those who are studying in the government school rather than those probably who are studying in the management school. Friends, after our independence, we adopted what we called as the welfare state. But it so happened over a period of time, and if you go through the literature, all critics are saying that the states have taken too many jobs and too much of work than what probably it can do. In our country particularly, state feels that everything under the sun it can do. And I always say it's like from constructing airports to feeding or the breastfeeding children. Everywhere government's intervention is there. On the other hand, people feel that government should do everything. Now, whether this is going to work, this is the million-dollar question before us. Unfortunately, I must say that even though this particular scenario is changing, private sector in our country have kept itself quite isolated from the core problems which our country faces, particularly the poverty, the malnutrition, the problems of education, health. I know the scenario is changing and private sector is recognized that it needs to contribute in these sectors. And thus the significance and the context of what we call and say as the corporate social responsibility. Because I have been asked to make introductory remarks on the CSR, I'll take you to the World Business Council's definition of CSR. CSR, the definition says, the continuing commitment by the business, first of all, to behave ethically and contribute to the economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce. This, of course, the private sector would always do, but not only that, contribute life of the workforce and their families, but also the local community and the society at large. So this is what the CSR definition talks about. So what I will say, there is a paradigm shift with the concept of CSR. From the prime motive of the profit making, we are looking towards the society. This is the first. Second, from the prime target of what we called as the shareholders, the responsibility of the private sector is not only towards the shareholders, but also towards the stakeholders. And when we are talking about the stakeholders, we must accept, and the private sector also must accept, that ultimately it's the society. CSR may not be purely a philanthropic activities because the success of the private sector ultimately depends on how good the society is, and that's how the stronger markets would come. So even I will say the viability of the private sector depends on the market which it can generate across the country. And that is what it's important. The sustainability of the private sector depends on the the market. So there are many initiatives. Kinetic itself is working on the program Swapna Bhumi, if I am right, and they are working in 150 villages in Parbhani. BPCL is working in 37 villages in Gujarat. Bajaj Auto is working in AIDS and HIV. Wipro, all of you know, have taken great initiative in primary school. Mahindra, they are working in Nasik tribal area. Melghat Mitra, the scheme is quite famous. So, and of course, the Tatas and Birlas, they have been known for that. So I'm happy that the private sector now is coming in a big way in this particular area. And of course, lastly to conclude, I must say that for the nation building, it's not only the state and the government, but each and every organ of our society, whether it is government, whether it's a private sector, whether it's an NGO sector or individuals, must chip in together so that we ultimately develop. Thanks.
Profit is good, business is better, but do we care enough to share? We do not. The topic for discussion today is CSR, business beyond profit. But I would like to reform this statement into a better way. That is CSR, that is the indirect form of profit maximization. The question that all of you have right now is, what is CSR? This is not even answerable by the companies who are promoting this program in our country or trying to develop it. The only aim they have is to make profits, and only profits. They have to earn their bread and butter, so they are doing it in any way and ignoring the society which is not a part of that industry. When we say yes, the companies, the corporate houses are building the multinational companies, building the multi-storage, giving food samples, but you do not know if they're actually giving it or not. If you are answerable to this question, I would like to ask you one more question. Who has actually benefited from these things? The poor, the underprivileged who are actually targeted, or the people who are sitting at higher posts and are taking a share out of this? I say those people are enjoying the pleasures of all these things. The money for the poor, the houses for the poor, everything, I have no shame in saying that, but a small percentage of it is going to all these officers who are passing this bill to make these multi-storied buildings. Now, every day from the past 10 years, the government is crying that we have to develop a CSR, we have to develop a CSR. But where is that CSR? From the past 2 years, we are trying to make it compulsory. 2% of the company share has to go to the public, the underprivileged people. 2 days back, on the 11th of this month, I read an article that is given by Dr. Manmohan Singh himself, that 40% of the children today in India are malnutrition. If we say that the companies are working in this area, then why is there 40% of malnutrition children in this country? From 46%, which was 10 years back, till now, we have 40%. If even 2% is chipped in by every company, it is 78 companies who, if together, work for these malnutrition children. In 1 year, I guarantee in 1 year, this 40% can come down to 4%. Any time of the day, it can come down to 4%. Now, we spent 1,800 crore rupees on a Commonwealth Games. We did, and we are doing it. It was good, it is not a bad venture. But what did the athletes experience? The worst Commonwealth Games ever. Now, instead, if we start an Olympic race for the companies that are existing in India, based on their ethics and their willingness to give a small percentage of whatever they earn to these people, then where is India going to lead? We, the young people, have the fire inside us, but we do not know how to discover it. Now, if Mr. Karat can educate us to be with the qualities of leadership, 8,000 of us are here due to one man. Then if 8,000 of us work to develop the country, it can go to 16,000, 32,000, and the whole nation can follow us. Now, whenever we face a major problem, we go begging to the US, Europe, Japan, China for one small technical problem. Then where are our students? We are over here. Are we fools sitting over here? If 8,000 of us start procuring these problems and work towards these problems, then why? 400 of us know the problem, then 40 of us can do it. The two companies that I appreciate the maximum is Pampers, the nappy company, and Navneet bookstores. These people are donating 1 rupee to the underprivileged children for everything they sell. This is a kind of business. This is a kind of profit they are making. At last, I would like to say is, are we ready? Are we up to the challenge? if you have answers to these questions, then I would like to say one thing. That is a short poem. How can I be helpful? What services can I offer? There is an urge inside me. How can I discover? One more thing. There are people, the olds left their ideologies. The olds are not asking us to mourn on their death, but they want us to continue to work on their ideologies. Thank you.
The great father of our nation believed that companies should be run as trusts and the people who own them should act as mere trustees. That was his concept of trusteeship. Along the same lines, but not to such an extreme extent, lies CSR. In short, CSR may be defined as corporate social responsibility, and it indicates how the social needs of the people are fulfilled. It may be taken as something which brings about the positive social impact. The main word here I'm emphasizing on is positive. Why positive? Because it has to bring about benefits for the people. It has to bring about benefits for the planet, and finally, it has to bring about benefits for the profit of the company. Whereas the West has always looked upon it as charity. हम भारतीय इसे हमारा responsibility, हमारी कर्तव्य मानता है. That is the way we have always looked upon it. But I ask, what has happened of it in the recent years? Where has our responsibility gone? Why have we become irresponsible? Whatever the reasons may be, a single question still arises. How can we, the youth, take up that responsibility again? We can first of all look into the matter that why people are not aware regarding CSR. How can people be made aware regarding the same? We should include the government, non-governmental organizations and the private sector to collaborate and synergize to bring out such efforts. Small-scale and medium-scale industries must also be included for the same. It is high time that the politic and the government also took part in such activities. Firstly, it has to begin by formulating a policy which will explain, or rather which will give guidelines for what is CSR and how it is to be regulated. Such efforts have been taken by introducing the Companies Act, or rather the Modified Companies Act, in the Parliament in 2009 and 2011. But what has come of it? Nothing yet. As it has been emphasized time and again on the BCS platform, it is imperative that we be impatient. We must be impatient. Impatient is the key to change. CSR initiatives must be brought about for procuring licenses. They must be considered while giving out environmental clearance certificates, for giving out industrial use certificates. It is high time that the society took back from the corporates what they have been earning from us. Let us not make it our responsibility to give more to them. Let them make it our responsibility to give back to us. Let them feed our starving brothers. And finally, I'd like to say that I am not against corporates for that matter. If at all, I'm speaking on their behalf. CSR will benefit them as well, in the long run, that is to say. Or rather, having, or even in the sense, implementing such practices will give them more profits in the social sense. Finally, I'd like to address my fellow student leaders and all the youth of our country for that matter. We are an empowered lot. We are a responsible lot. And the choices that we make the India of tomorrow. So I urge you, look at the company before you look at the salary. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Friends, I would like to thank the organizers and the Governing Council of MIT School for inviting me to interact with the participants at this unique forum called the Indian Student Parliament. I'm sorry, as Rahul explained, that I cannot physically be with you this morning. I think you're organizing this event at a very relevant moment in our history, as our institutions, parliament, judiciary, media are under the glare of public scrutiny. In the prevailing anti-politician mood, there are even extreme comments. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes, there are extreme comments made about the utility of the parliament, the slowness of the judiciary, and the partisanship of the media. It is true we have our difficulties with them, but we should consider ourselves fortunate to have these vibrant institutions. Think what would have been the situation if they were absent, as in many societies around the world. Today, as it is happening with these august bodies, the role of corporate sector too is being reappraised. We live in a world where corporate power is enormous. They are engines of growth, offering employment, products and services. But companies are also sharply criticized for single-minded pursuit of profits, lack of transparency, distortion of public policies, and, in certain extreme cases, for scams and disastrous nexus with political power. Many of them are feared, but are they respected? Are they seen as partners in developing our communities and societies? There are many in the corporate world who assume that their duty is done if they grow their business, honestly pay their taxes, and create job opportunities. If they achieve these objectives, they feel they have fulfilled their corporate social responsibility expectations. If they moved out of their comfort zone and looked beyond the corporate world, I'm sure they would not be so complacent. Even though India has enjoyed 9% GDP growth and many people have joined the millionaire and billionaire clubs, poverty in India persists and the gap between the rich and the poor is widening. Looking beyond our metros and the visible symbols of our increasingly consumerist lifestyles, the reality is sharply different. In the midst of pockets of prosperity, India has the highest of malnourished population. You will be surprised to know that we have more malnourished people, that is 42%, than the sub-Sahara Africa, which has 25%. In education, our statistics are shameful. Out of 100 children born, 15 will never attend school. Of those who attend school, 50% drop out by class 5. Of those who stay in school, 10% complete class 10. On any given day, approximately 25% of government teachers are absent, and in some states, this figure can be as high as 50%. More disturbing is the fact that a community-based survey done in 28 cities and 8 rural districts of India found that nearly 70% of school-going children in the age group of 6 to 14 years cannot read simple text fluently, nor do basic arithmetic sums. In such circumstances, I find it difficult to accept the argument that the business of business is business. There is a striking passage I read somewhere stating that the business of business is to generate growth and profits, or else it will die. However, if that is the sole purpose of a business, then also it should die, for it no longer has a reason for its existence. This is even more applicable to a country like India, where we are surrounded by poverty and the gap between the rich and the poor is widening. It is imperative that the corporate sector, with its managerial resources and financial muscle, reaches out to the needy. Let me also add here that I believe that the first responsibility of a corporate is to be viable and make profits. In the past, when my own company, Thermex, was not doing well, all our energies were turned inwards for survival. Corporate social responsibility took a back seat. However, doing well financially is a necessary first step, but not sufficient. We have to reach out to the larger community in which we operate. In a schizophrenic development situation where India is shining and Bharat is lagging behind, there are daily media reports of social unrest and violent movements like those of the Naxalites and others seeking justice outside the law. If we want a safe and peaceful environment, we cannot afford to neglect large numbers who have nothing to look forward to but to stare at a blank wall. It is time we acted decisively and with a sense of urgency for the betterment of our backyard communities, who too have hopes and aspirations like all of us. Enlightened corporates have realized that in the long run, business cannot succeed in a society that fails. For its own self-interest, there are very powerful reasons why corporates need to actively take on CSR beyond lip service. Let me give you a few reasons. In a competitive business scenario, it is critical that every employee is sensitive to the internal and external customer. If sensitivity as a quality has to be created, it would then permeate to the employee's surroundings and community. Reaching out would be an integral role for each one. Corporate India is doing well and constantly needs trained manpower. We boast that India has the largest number of youth, but unless we invest in them, this asset can turn into a liability. If large sections of our public grow up with malnutrition and without meaningful education and requisite skills, from where will corporates draw good people to meet their exploding need for trained manpower? Corporate social responsibility emerged from the growing realization by progressive corporates that they have obligations to their multiple stakeholders, the wider community from which they draw their resources. Stakeholders are not narrowly defined to mean only the shareholders, but as those who get affected by corporate policies and practices. Today, it is acknowledged that business has not just financial accountability, but also social and environmental responsibility, popularly known as the triple bottom line for good governance. We consider the essential requirements for effective CSR. In a way, for me, C stands for credibility, S for sensitivity, and R for responsibility, and how all these need to be integrated. CSR can take many forms, such as applying new technologies for rural welfare and work in the areas of health and education in India. They also help government to focus its resources and manage development more effectively. I would also like to touch upon two related issues which I think are of great importance and where corporate India can play an influential role. The issues are corruption and social justice. Corruption in India has got its tentacles in all spheres and has eaten into our moral fiber. What is sad is that everyone, including corporates, have looked at corruption as inevitable and justify that it is widely prevalent in all developing countries. While I strongly advocate CSR, the amounts the corporates can spend is insignificant compared to what government spends on social development. Yet, from Rajiv Gandhi's time, it has been acknowledged that 80 to 85% of government spending on social sector ends up in mismanagement and corruption. Can business associations like CII, FICCI, SOCHM demand accountability for this huge leak? Most business organizations want to pander to the government in power and do not want to ask awkward questions. On UN's Human Development Index, compared to our neighbors, except for Pakistan, India is faring the worst. Imagine the positive changes that are possible if we can plug this leak and channelize our resources. India has chosen to define itself as secular, and its rich diversity needs to be preserved. From time to time, we have had communal violence, and sectarian violence can be very damaging. When there is grave injustice, as happened in Delhi after Indira Gandhi's assassination and in Gujarat in 2002, can corporates afford not to raise their voice? I make a distinction between individual acts of violence, terrorism, and state-sponsored violence. Can industry associations turn a blind eye to such injustice and assume that their role is only towards economic development and what happens in the social sphere is not within their purview? We forget that political parties need business support as much as corporates need their blessings. Collectively, can we be in touch with the tremendous power we can exert? Instead of always trying to be on the right side of the political party in power, can business associations do what is good for the country and not play safe all the time? In India, Tatas were the pioneers in community development initiatives, decades before concepts like CSR became popular. Among the new companies, both Infosys and Wipro are setting good example in supporting worthy causes. Let me cite an example from our own modest experience in the field of education. Our company Thermax has created a social foundation, and up to now 1% of our profit after tax has been set aside for social causes. From April 2012, 1% will become 3%. Focusing mainly on education for the underprivileged, we signed a 30-year MOU with the Pune Municipal Corporation, which runs 21 English medium schools. The MOU has created a partnership with the Pune Municipal Corporation and the Thermax Social Foundation to manage 2 of the English schools. PMC gave the school building and provides books, uniform and transport expenses for the children wherever required. We recruit the principal and the teachers and pay their salaries. Every year we have been adding 1 more class. Akanksha, an NGO, partners the foundation for innovative and creative methods of teaching. we find the children love coming to school and are eager to learn. One of our schools, KC Thackeray, won the India Education Award for being the best among all government schools. Given the extent of the poverty in India, the low levels of literacy, especially among women, and the abject healthcare facilities available to the weaker sections of the society, a lot more needs to be done, especially by the corporate sector, which, as I said, has the financial and the organization muscle. In partnership with the government and NGOs, it can make a significant and measurable contribution to improving the lot of the less fortunate men, women, and children in our country. Let me talk about a movement called Teach for India that my company and family is supporting. After you graduate, this movement could offer some of you an option to make a difference in the lives of the deprived people. With our privileged backgrounds, we have the option of being self-absorbed and only focus on building a good career and going up the corporate ladder. Or, while taking care of our needs, we can also, in small and big ways, reach out to the not so fortunate and make a small impact in their lives. Teach for India offers one such window of opportunity. It is modeled after Teach for America, which was started by a dynamic young social entrepreneur named Wendy Cobb 20 years ago. We brought it to India 3 years ago with the aim to bridge the inequity gap in education. We invite young graduates with excellent academic record and professionals under the age of 35 years, and we call them fellows, to give 2 full years and teach low-income private and municipal schools. Besides academic excellence, we expect our fellows to have dedication, ability to think critically, make a difference in a big way. I hope that some of you will apply for Teach for India after you graduate. Just as the country needs statesmen, politicians with vision, we need business leaders who can transcend the narrowness of aspiration expressed in exclusive terms of profit and restore the social relevance of enterprise. We need business leaders with intellectual and moral integrity and with sensitivity to the larger environment. By socially sensitive, corporators can help to uphold our democratic and secular traditions based on a true appreciation of the rich practices we have in India. Before I conclude, I would like to request a lot of you youth to join politics and make a difference in our country. You do not have to shy away from joining, saying that it is not the right career. If you who have the idealism do not join, who will change India for the better? Thank you very much.
Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad, my friend Rahul Karad, Honorable Dr. Chahande, the Vice Chancellor of Pune University, Mr. Kshitij Thakur, MLA, the special guests of this morning, Anirudh Dutt and Vishal Chodia, the other eminent dignitaries on the dais, and my dear friends, students from all over India. First of all, a very warm welcome to you. Welcome to year 2012. Welcome to this amazing student parliament, and welcome to Pune, our lovely city. I do hope that you're enjoying the city, its beautiful weather, and its hospitality. I have lived abroad for many years, traveled to many parts of the world, but the kind of warmth, the air of informality, the love, and what they call apnapan that you see in Pune, you see nowhere in the world. So I do hope that you get time to relax, enjoy a beautiful time in this wonderful city. I'd like to congratulate you for being at the Student Parliament, an amazing gathering put together specially for you by Dr. Karad. I think you're very fortunate to be here, and the kind of exposure that you will get or you are getting in these 3 days is really priceless. The galaxy of eminent speakers and personalities that have come here especially to interact with you, I'm sure will leave many ideas, many ambitions, many inspirations in your heart. When you were growing up, when we were growing up, IQ was big, intelligence quotient. It was later replaced by EQ, emotional quotient. But according to me, what's most important is another form of EQ, which is exposure quotient. You are basically what you see, what you observe, what you learn, what you listen to, and what you participate in. So definitely soak in every bit of knowledge, every bit of word of wisdom that you can hear at this gathering. I'm sure it will help you to carry the responsibility of taking forward this country in the coming decades. And the fact that you are here at this gathering, in fact, is a proof of the fact that you are the leaders of tomorrow. In every company, every city, every family, every society, there is an 80-20 rule, that the 20% people carry along with them the rest of the 80%. These 20% are called leaders, and the 80% are called followers, or you can call them mere citizens. These 20% are unique. They're keen to learn, they're keen to participate, they're keen to grow. And the fact that you're here today, I would say that that means that you are in part of this 20%. So congratulations for self-selecting yourself to be part of tomorrow's leaders, eminent leaders of this country. As for me, I consider it as a privilege to be here, to be talking to all of you. For me, sharing the dais with respected Anu Agaji is a privilege in itself. She really is the epitome of strength, dignity, and grace in today's corporate world of India. I'm also here to learn, to understand and hear all of you speak and your thoughts. Because I think as a young business leader, if you're not in tune with what the youth wants, there is no way that our businesses can move forward in the coming decades. And I do hope to leave you with a few ideas and a few thoughts that you can carry as you move along and become corporate, business, or political leaders yourselves. The topic given to me today to speak about, CSR, corporate social responsibility, business beyond profit, I would say is a topic very close to my heart. It's really the legacy which I'm living and the legacy which I'm intending and trying my best to take forward. As you may know, my grandfather, my late grandfather, Mr. H.K. Firodia, was one of those unique industrialists whose business itself was born, created out of a desire to risk everything to build an industrial empire for the benefit of the customer. The Firodia family is a Gandhian family, deep-rooted in nationalistic spirit, part of the freedom movement. All the companies that were founded by our family, first co-founded with Bajaj family, the Bajaj Auto, and later Bajaj Tempo and Kinetic Engineering, Kinetic Motor, and various other companies, were created with the single most, I would say, objective or desire or goal to provide mobility to Indians post-independence in a way that we make India also self-reliant in automotive technology. Thus, the vehicles that were created were really out of a sense of responsibility to our country then, and in tune with what India needed at that time. The moped, which my respected father Arun Firodia ji created, Luna, Chal Meri Luna, I think everybody remembers it by, sold more than 70 lakh in the Indian market, and really was India's and probably world's most affordable mode of transport for a common Indian man. The first Luna, if you remember, costed only 1,300 rupees to make an automobile with an engine, suspension, and all the required safety features at 1,500 rupees itself is an engineering marvel. This is the kind of legacy I'm carrying forward. If you look at other visionaries like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, in that era, they created businesses to make a difference to the society. Going forward, Kinetic has taken up many other initiatives in the area of social responsibility. Some of them I can just quickly run through. Our company was set up in Ahmednagar, itself a backward area then. This is because my great-grandfather was a speaker in the assembly in Ahmednagar. We created a large factory, many schools, and a lot of supplier and ancillary industry in Ahmednagar, and helped make it a center of industrial activity. Over the years, Kinetic has won many awards for its activities in CSR. Some of the notable ones is we run a leprosy rehabilitation program, where our entire spare parts picking and packing unit is run by people inflicted with leprosy as a way to give them productive employment and for their own self-confidence and rehabilitation. For this effort, Kinetic has won the Helen Keller CSR Award. Kinetic also won the FICCI Corporate Citizen Award in year 2006. The first position went to Tata Group and the second went to Kinetic for its responsible activities as a corporate citizen. Kinetic also runs a program where many scooters have been donated to the war heroes from various wars, including the Kargil War. We also support road safety initiatives, again an area linked to our business and where we can make a difference, promoting use of helmets and overall other road safety initiatives for the consumers. At the family level, the Firodia family runs a trust through which various philanthropic activities are carried out. The notable one being Swapna Bhumi is a large collection of 150 villages in Parbhani district, which we support for all-round development. The H.K. Firodia Awards in Science and Technology, in my grandfather's memory, have been one of the most eminent awards given to leading scientists of India, with a view to promote and inspire young students to pursue science and for development of India's strengths in the area of science and technology. We also run a very interesting trophy called Firodia Karandak, many of you may be aware, again to promote art and to create budding artists who can go on to become the superstars of Indian industry. And amongst many other initiatives which we run, including running schools and donations to hospitals, etc. But the point I'm trying to make is that I have a very tough legacy to carry forward. And CSR, therefore, is really a way of life in our family and in our organization. Today, what I want to speak about, my own learnings from my exposure to these activities. And I think we have heard Anu Agaji and others speak about the importance and the requirement, necessity of CSR in today's world, especially in a country like India, where there is a large inequality between the haves and have-nots, where the social development is really crying out as a major need for our country's all-round development. And therefore, I would say that everyone, not just the government, but the government, the corporates, and also the citizens of our country have to come forward and be socially responsible, if that's the right word. So I don't want to speak about why CSR. I think that has been said and said again, the basic necessity. I want to speak about how of CSR and what of CSR. Some of you may enter the corporate world, and I can give my thoughts on how I believe a CSR strategy can be developed for your organization and how it can be aligned with your corporate objectives. CSR, as we heard, speaks about the ethical behavior of a company towards the society, a need to build a sustainable and trustworthy business and relationships within the community and your own business for its long-term all-round development. In this, we have to be careful. It's kind of like the karma of a business. We are, as most of us, maybe Hindus, believe that if you do good, good will happen to you. Similarly, business, karma of business is being good so that good outcome can be expected from your business. And that's a good way to put it, because I think always it's easier to understand a difficult subject when you make it simple. So karma, I think, is a good way to look at it. So I think when you think of corporate social responsibility as a karma of a business, I think that's one important factor to be kept in mind, that today CSR is not something that a corporate should do or it's required to do to be a good corporate citizen, to be a good person in the society. But I would go a step further and say that having a good CSR strategy today is essential also for the survival of the business. This is what we should remember as young professionals when we go into the world of business. Today, as you know, that is important to reduce cost. A good CSR program, in fact, where you imbibe green initiatives can actually help you to reduce cost while being good to the environment, while adopting energy-saving methods. Today, the shareholders of your company are also looking at the ethical cost of business. Companies which do not follow good practices end up in lawsuits. They end up in paying huge costs and damages for the mistakes made by them. Look at the petroleum companies, look at the other companies which have paid huge prices for not being responsible in the processes that they use. As we heard before, we need to attract good employees. Good employees will work in organizations that are good, that provide a good platform for their own learning, and that are responsible to the society. Nobody wants to work for a company which is in the middle of scams and frauds and where there are unhappy employees leaving and pointing fingers at the organization. Your supplier community is also an important part of your business, and if you're a good citizen and you work for the betterment of your supplier community, it is going to pay you back by being a better business. So I would say that all your stakeholders, whether it's your suppliers, your employees, your shareholders, are also looking at your business performance from the point of view of the cost you're paying for not being socially good. So it is not only a good thing to do, but I would say that it is required in today's business world that you adopt socially responsible practices for your own survival and also for achieving the basic objective of your business, which is to make profit. Now let's look at different levels of CSR. One is a protectionist method, where a business only avoids being bad by making sure that it's not depleting the natural resources, not causing damage to the environment. The second level could be being a sustainable business, where you are looking at overall processes and incorporating the good processes for your business stability and for giving back to the society. Then there are organizations which are having active CSR programs and are working towards various causes. They could involve donations, could involve commitment to certain causes like poverty, education, health, etc. And then I would say there is the fourth approach, which is the one that I advocate, which is to have an integrated CSR plan for your organization, where CSR is not just about a few donations you give, or not just about giving a part of your income to the society, but actually having a well thought out program whereby you can make a difference to your organization, to the community, and to all your stakeholders. I would argue that your CSR program should be an integrated one with your business objective. And that's the only way that you can actually make a real impact, and also in a way that becomes a way of life for your organization and its people. Again, giving example of Kinetic, we have looked at bringing rehabilitation into Kinetic, employing people who are leprosy oriented. We looked at road safety mechanisms, etc. So look at CSR as an integrated program to make a difference to the society and to your organization. And I would like to make only one more point as I end, that it is important, and we heard very emphatic statements from our students that corporates must give back to the society. But I would say that that is not enough. I would say that we all have to play our role. Government has a large role to play in the social development. Corporates can contribute in a big way, but we all as citizens must also give our time and resources for the social responsibility causes. So let's end by saying that what you get is what you make a living with. What you give is what you make a life with. So let's all give and let's all be socially responsible going forward. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Good morning, ma'am. As every corporation has a social responsibility to our society, but what happens actually that every corporation do work for society only on paper, not on the ground. So we as student leaders, what can we do so that the actual work is done actually, not virtually?
I would say, good question. I think first of all, you can make a difference. I think there is a concept called greenwashing. That means some companies only talk about being green, but in reality, it's only a cover-up for something possibly not so good in their organization. There's a very good story of British Petroleum, which changed its, let's say, corporate line to Beyond Petroleum and spent millions of dollars projecting itself as a company which is doing good for the environment. The company's sales went up, and they also were rated in a survey as an environmentally positive company. But the truth is that just a year before this campaign ran, they had paid millions of dollars as damages for damage to the environment. So I think this is the kind of thing you want to avoid with. First, a company that you're working with, do research and find out really what they are doing. Secondly, when you're in the company, I think you can contribute, and that's the best way of making a difference, by really being part of the entire movement and showing your initiative in adding value. So as your friend said, when you work for a company, don't look at only the money, but also look at the organization itself.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
मैडम, आज भारत बिजनेस के क्षेत्र में बहुत निवेश कर रहा है। आज आयात और निर्यात में हम आयात पर ही निर्भर हैं, निर्यात पर हम जाते ही नहीं हैं। निर्यात में जाते हैं तो आज रुपए का मूल्य गिर चुका है, इसलिए निर्यात में भी हमें घाटा है। हम आज बिजनेस के हर क्षेत्र में बहुत निवेश कर रहे हैं, फिर भी आज हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था द्वितीय दर्जे की क्यों है?
There are two ways to look at everything, glass half full and glass half empty. हम ऐसा भी कह सकते हैं कि आज भारत दुनिया के सबसे ज़्यादा बढ़ोतरी के देशों में से एक है। 8 to 9% GDP growth is a very good indication that our company is growing. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, before liberalization, our country was much more behind, much backward. I would say कि आज भारत के लिए अच्छे दिन आए हैं और अच्छी इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी के वजह से अगले 10 या 15 साल भारत में बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ोतरी और प्रगति होने का आसरा भी है, आशा भी है और ऐसे चिन्ह भी है। तो मैं ये कहूँगी आप सबको, जो भारत का भविष्य है, कि आप पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट रखिए और ये सोचिए कि अगले 15 सालों में हमें भारत को हम जहाँ से है वहाँ से कहीं आगे लेके जाना है और दुनिया की एक सबसे ऊंचाई तक लेके जाना है। India can become a superpower, economic superpower in the next 15 years if we work with a positive mindset and if we push the right policy levers and give our best to our country. यही मैं कहूँगी।
A very good morning, everyone. Honestly speaking, I have no idea what corporate social responsibility is. And I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. I have no idea what corporate social responsibility is. It's a very fancy word. I did my MBA. I was in the US for my education. And we used to get a lot that, the company should do all these corporate social responsibilities and all. I never got the idea what exactly and why exactly the company should do it. The dictionary definition for a corporate or a company is a group of people coming to make profits. And on the other hand, we say that corporate social responsibility is whatever profits you make, take this little bit of money and spend it. As a stakeholder, I'll be little worried, ki boss, I need more profits. It's going to affect my dividends. On the, whatever speeches I heard, the idea that I got from the speeches today is we are taking something from the society and it's our duty to give it back. Ek Maharaj the, and I visited this Maharaj before I became an MLA. And he said कि अगर आप हाथ ऐसा रखोगे, बंद मुट्ठी रखोगे, तो ऊपर वाला जो दे रहा है, तो आपके हाथ में कुछ नहीं आएगा. आप खुला हाथ रखोगे, तो ऊपर वाले का हाथ ऐसा होगा. And that one point before the elections, today I got to understand what he meant. A lot of companies do corporate social responsibilities. What I'll do is I'll share a few examples and I'll end my speech. I've got only 3 minutes, so I have to cramp all the examples in short forms. So there is this company called HLL, Hindustan Liver Limited. And they ran a campaign a couple of years back where they were empowering women. And by empowering women, what they did was they उनका products लिया, villages में गए, महिलाओं को उनका products दिया कि ये साबुन है, ये शैम्पू, ये टूथपेस्ट है, आप जाके बेचो, जो भी revenue आप generate करेंगे, आपको इतना percentage पैसा मिलेगा. And it was a good campaign. This was a couple of years back. Even we got excited because companies coming, they're empowering women and all. Then it got into some little bit of controversy. People started asking that, they are making money off this. They are basically expanding their markets in the rural area. They're not empowering women. अगर आपके घर में औरत आके बोलती है, आपकी आंटी आके बोलती है, मम्मी आके बोलती है, बाजू वाली आंटी आके बोलती है कि this is a product that I'm selling, so please buy it. In the good faith, you will end up buying it. So you're basically, as an HLL, I'm expanding my markets in the rural areas. The second thing that I'm doing as HLL is I'm sending subliminal messages to that lady. So जब वो पैसा बनाएगी and she is marketing this product, कि ये product आपको गोरा बनाएगा, काला बनाएगा, पीला बनाएगा, आपके बाल अच्छे करेगा. So you're basically marketing that product. I'm also sending the subliminal messages to my mind कि boss this product is good. So when I start making that small percentage of money and मेरा income जब बढ़ता है, I end up buying HLL products. तो मैं बेच भी रहा हूँ और खुद भी खरीद रहा हूँ. Is that what you call corporate social responsibilities in the name of empowering women? The second example I would like to give you is it was a small book I was reading, and there's this kid who goes to this ice cream वाला uncle. वो पान में रैप करके देते ना, कुल्फी वाले ठेले पे बैठे रहते हैं. So this kid goes and is like, uncle ji, I want 2 scoops of ice cream. तो कितना होएगा? So that uncle ji is like, बेटा 15 रुपए होएगा. So he turns around, he counts his money, he turns back and he's like, uncle ji, give me 1 scoop का कितना होएगा? So he's like, बेटा 11 रुपए होएगा. So he's like, uncle ji, 1 scoop दो मेरे को आप. That uncle gives him 1 scoop. This kid puts the money on the thela and walks off. This guy counts the money. He gets 15 rupees from this kid for 1 scoop, which is 11 rupees. For me, that kid is involved in corporate social responsibilities. We need to look in ourselves. I'll ask one question, and I'm only going to give you questions, and I'll end my speech. How many of you guys have Fadawad? Let's do this exercise. Fadawad. How many of you guys have servants, drivers, watchmen at their place? Fadawad, raise their hands. So majority of them. How many of you guys, keep your hands raised. How many of you guys know their names? How many of you guys know their wife's or husband's name? How many of you guys know their kids' names? I'm happy that there are still a few people, but majority of them's hands came down. For me, that one step towards corporate social responsibility is helping that my servant's husband or wife or kid. That is my one step towards corporate social responsibilities. वो मेरा वॉचमैन रात भर उधर खड़ा रहता है, उसका मुंह उतरा है, मुझे उसका नाम भी नहीं मालूम. वो काका पानी क्यों नहीं चालू हुआ? काका के नाम से मालूम है, लेकिन वो राजू चाचा है कि कालू चाचा है कोई नहीं मालूम. चाचा पानी चालू नहीं हुआ, टाकी ऊपर जाके पानी चालू करो. चाचा रात भर सोए क्यों थे? लेकिन उसका मेरे को नाम नहीं मालूम. उसको क्या सता रहा है? उसकी बेटी स्कूल में, उसका फीस भरने के लिए उसके पास पैसा नहीं है. एंड वी डोंट इवन लुक एट हिम. फॉर मी टेकिंग दैट वन स्टेप कि बॉस, व्हाई आर यू वरीड? Your daughter needs whatever that fees ka money, here, lena bhai. For me, that is corporate social responsibilities. I really thank for giving me this opportunity to present. Thank you so much.
This will be the session 6, CSR Business Beyond Profit. We, the student leaders assembled here in the second Bharatiya Chhatra Sansad, hereby resolve and appeal to the government to ensure that the educational institutions established by the corporate sectors across the country provide reservations for the students coming from the marginalized sections of society.
मिलजुल कर अब काम करेंगे, आओ अब कुछ बात करेंगे.
On behalf of the teammates, I request the dignitaries to twit, and here we go with the results. It's yes for 74.89%. और क्योंकि कुछ लोग इत्तेफाक नहीं रख से comes up with no 25.11%, but better than the rest we have yes with 74, almost we can consider 75%. लोग कहते हैं yes.
भारतीय छात्र संसद